prostitute stands by the window. She turns her head as I walk in the room.
Hi, I'm Andy, and welcome to Get Gaming, the channel by gamers with a Y for gamers with or without a Y. We have a special Solitary Sunday for you. I'll be doing my monthly stats for the month of October. We just released our stats, me and Rich, for the games that we played together. Go check that video out if you haven't already. This is sort of the second half of that. Now for some stats. I know that's what you all came here for. I was talking to, I think it was Mitch from M is for Meeple, about how I have this color-coded Excel sheet. And he's like, I like stats, but I don't like the data entry part of it. And I'm like, well, the former accountant in me does kind of like the data entry part of it.
I never said I was a role model.
What?
It's just nice to kind of sit down and analyze and look back on what you did actually play. It helps me kind of see which days and times I was playing more. I don't actually log the times. That would be a little extra. I usually just organize it by day, and I color code it by if it was, in real life. I have a column for physical plays, and then online plays, and then solo plays. And I also have a separate color for game day plays. It's just kind of helpful to see the sort of patterns. I just thought I'd talk about that a little bit because I think I've mentioned it here and there. But in case you're wondering why I'm looking at the computer, that's the Excel sheet that I'm looking at. So for my solo plays, because this is a solo video, I had 13 in real life solo plays in the month of October. 7 of those were unique games, and 3 of those games were unique to me. For my BGA plays, I played 85 games on BGA, 36 of which were unique games, and 14 of which were new to me. That's a lot of games. Let's talk about the sort of physical copy solo games, because these were things that were some of them were new. The first game obviously was Spooky Month, so we've already covered the Bloody Inn in our spooky tabletop and toast vid. If you haven't checked that out, please do. Me, Rich, and our special Lady of International Mystery guest went over that game in more detail. A really good solo mode. Very excellent. I like solo modes where you don't have to do upkeep for some kind of AI or some kind of ghost player generally. So the Bloody Inn's solo mode is really good in the sense that it plays out just like the normal game, just much faster because you don't have to wait for other people's actions, and it's really just kind of bing, bang, boom, I killed, I came, I saw, I conquered. But it's a really great way to kind of try out different types of engines that you can build. Like this game, I'm going to focus more on the money and get a ton of francs in the bank for the end, or this time I'm going to focus more on cards that make it cheaper to bribe. So it's the solo mode, I find, is just really great for just exploring all the content that's in that game and the different kinds of things, the different ways that game can play out for you. And it really certainly helps when you go and then play it multiplayer again. Everyone is like, why are you so much better at this game now? So really great solo mode. I highly, highly recommend it. I think it's definitely a game we'll pull out, and I'll certainly pull out and play solo throughout the year, not just for Spooky Month. So I also played more Grove. I haven't been playing Grove as much as Orchard. And this is sort of interesting. I've noticed in the couple of months since we got it, I've played it. I'll play it a couple of times, and then it'll be several weeks before I come back to it. And I think I talked either in the September stats video or maybe it was the October stats video about... So Orchard, it's more addictive because it's so hard to beat, and it's such a tight, constrictive puzzle that it's one of those games you just play it over and over and over and over, and you just keep coming back to it in the sense of like, oh, I want to beat it. Whereas Grove, because it's a little more open and it has those different variable goal cards, it's something that you can do it once, score okay to good, and be like, that was a satisfying game. Okay, I'm good for a while. So I'm not sure how well that bodes for its longevity for me. solo wise, or whether I would end up reverting to playing Orchard more again. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's just interesting. I haven't been feeling that same sense of, I want to beat it, because Grove is, I don't know, maybe just after playing Orchard so much, Grove didn't seem that hard to beat, or because the mechanical changes of the glades and stuff, it feels like less of a restrictive, less punishing game than Orchard. So it's one of those things. I'm just noticing that I only played one session of it this month, which is interesting. But, it was a good amount of solo gaming. It wasn't like a huge amount of solo gaming. So, that could change. I'm going to be off for the next month and a half from work. So I'll probably be getting a lot of gaming in. And Rich is going to be gone after next week. So definitely while he's gone, I'll be probably mostly solo gaming. I also played another solo game of Meadow, my favorite game, one of my favorite games. Oh, it's here. Yes. And I haven't played with the new content for it yet. I got the Bigfoot promo card, as you guys saw in the last stats video. I got the Legendary Creatures pack, which has like a jackalope in it and some other fairy looking things. Still waiting on the sleeve card pack. I don't know that I would sleeve my Meadow cards. It probably is a good idea, but definitely if we were going to go and film, we will be filming a playthrough of it soon, and I just don't want to have to unsleeve all the cards. And I'm still trying to decide if I'm really a sleeve person or not. The main reason I got the card sleeve pack is it does come with another mini expansion envelope. I have about 6 cards in them, so I just want to get every bit of that content that's been released for Meadow. So I might end up sleeving them. It might help with the longevity of this game, or I probably just get a new copy eventually. I played Cottage Garden again, solo. It's a decent solo game. It's very pastoral. Rich didn't really care for it that much. It's, I don't know, just not as crunchy as Patchwork, and it's one of those things in Cottage Garden where you're moving through multiple boards. Art is so gorgeous in that game, but I always feel like when I get to the end, it doesn't take that many tiles to fill up the boards. They're pretty small. And you get to the end, and you're like, oh, look at my beautiful garden. Okay, time to dump it and start on the next one, So it's always like, oh, I want to take pictures of all my little gardens, or I wish my garden were bigger. And just going through all those different boards, like the conveyor belt of beautiful gardens, it's like, here today, gone tomorrow. It's like life and really raising plants, I got a new game in, Verdant, which I have an unboxing video for that. We're definitely going to be doing a playthrough of that in the near future. I also just played it multiplayer for the first time and realized I was playing kind of an important rule completely wrong. So I'll have to be relearning that again this next week before we do the playthrough to make sure that we're doing it right. No one needs to know exactly what we were doing wrong, but let's just say it led to some very bloated scores. I dusted off Juicy Fruits, one of the best solo modes I've seen in a game. It's almost kind of like a mini campaign. So Juicy Fruits, of course, you have your little island board and you're doing the slide puzzle, capturing the fruit, and then bribing officials to fill out your board. The Brothers Murph are the only ones I've really seen proselytizing this game this much. It seems like it's kind of going under the radar a bit, which is a shame because this has a really amazing solo mode. So all the boards are double-sided. So the other side of the 4 boards are the 4 different modes for the solo game, and it just feels like a completely different game. Solo, it's so much tighter because there's a fixed number of rounds in the solo game, which there isn't in the multiplayer game, and just the different challenges that you get in the solo modes are very interesting. You're playing against an AI technically, which is called Pineapple. The pineapple is your opponent. Very cute. It doesn't really feel like you're managing an AI, like doing separate turns. It feels really integrated into the game. It sort of feels like the pineapple's turn just becomes integrated into your own turn. So it makes managing it and moving it around the board is a big part of what's going to be affecting you. So it's an AI that's very interactive with you. I soloed this 4 times. This is a game I played the most solo in October. Very good solo mode. I think I've said that several times. I'm very flustered, guys. I'm really looking forward to soloing this even more. I've really only gone through the first 2 boards. I think I did the 3rd one, but it's been a while ago, and I still haven't done the 4th one, which is supposed to be the most complicated and the hardest. This definitely would be something I'd love to feature on a future Solitary Sunday, just so you guys can see how the solo mode works, because it's a very unique. Now let's talk about the BGA Plays a little bit. I wanted to categorize these to give you a sense of kind of how my plays kind of go. So there's real-time games is one mode of play on BGA, and that's something I usually mostly do with strangers, and it's a certain list of games that I'm just playing ad nauseum. They're the sort of when I don't want to think and I just want something while I'm winding down for bed kind of games. I generally call those my comfort food games. Those are the games that I'm just constantly playing online, and I've racked up the most stats on just that group of games. And those are, of course, Yahtzee. I played Yahtzee 19 times this month, which is actually kind of low for me. Lucky Numbers is another one I'm always playing a lot. Backgammon, I'm always playing against a lot of opponents there and, trying to improve. Koi Koi, the classic Japanese card game, I'm always playing a lot of that. Then, of course, there's games that I probably only would want to play in real time. I wouldn't want to play them asynchronously, which most of the other plays I do. And usually when I'm trying new games, I often play them asynchronously, just because, I'm busy and doing things most of the time. But Six Nimmt, or how do you pronounce that? Six Nimmt, the classic card game of bulls. That's a game because all you're doing on your turn is you're playing the cards, and that game really is supposed to be very rapid fire. I generally don't like to play that asynchronously anymore, because then the game takes like 4 weeks with 5 or 6 people to get through the whole thing. Often I'll play that live every now and again. Same thing with Alhambra, which is one of my favorite games of all time, but that's again one where all you're doing on your turn is either drawing cards or placing a tile. Last time I did an async game, I think it took 5 weeks. So I was like, no, I'm not playing Alhambra asynchronously anymore. And then Ticket to Ride just landed on BGA, and me and Rich have talked to me about this game in the past, just because we played it so much when I was still living at Lydia's, because that was her favorite game of all time. She would bring it out every time we had a party. It was Ticket to Ride, Ticket to Ride. There's a lot of memories associated for me with Ticket to Ride, but I've been playing it a couple of times on BGA, and I'm like, it's fun, just a casual online game. I actually do quite enjoy it. So who knows, maybe one day in the future I will learn to love Ticket to Ride again. On the other side are the games. I always have an async game going up. I call this The Game Goes On. So this is like, once one of them ends, I always start a new one. They're just constantly cycling through. And these are games usually async that take 2 to 3 weeks. On average, they're bigger games usually. The big ones are the Castles of Burgundy and A Feast for Odin. Always have a game going of those. Teotihuacan is one that's recently become part of the circulation. And of course, I always have a game of Dragonheart pretty much going on with Hannah. So thank you, Hannah, for continuing to play that game with me. And don't tell Rich, but I do have the physical copy of Dragonheart is finally coming in the mail. So that's going to be his birthday gift. I usually have a game going of Barrage now. I still don't understand this game that well, to be honest. But I think I'm improving. It's a really fun worker placement game. Building dams and doing hydroelectricity in Austria or something. And it's got this whole kind of almost tech tree looking thing with the waters coming down from the mountains and into the plains and the valleys, and you're trying to capture the little water droplet tokens. It's a game I think I might like a physical copy of at some point, because I do quite enjoy it. And every now and again I have a game of Targi going with somebody. I don't think that's one I keep constantly all the time, but it is something that pops up in the rotation. Same thing with Draftosaurus. I've been doing a semi-constant series of Barren Park lately as well. Really good polynomial game by Phil Walker Harding. Very New York Zoo-esque, but better. I think I'm on Team Barren Park. Now I see why people like it so much better than New York Zoo. Definitely seems like it would be less fiddly, and it seems more strategic in just the way that you're filling things out and the different goals you're trying to accomplish. The puzzle of that game is definitely more interesting to me. So that's one I'd really love to get a physical copy of for the holidays. I think Rich would also enjoy it. I did another Terra Mystica. I still don't know about this game. I don't like the way the whole bowls of energy thing works and how you're managing that resource. It feels very frustrating to me sometimes. But everything else about that game I love. And I played with the mermaids because it's an asymmetric game, so you play as like different races and it's fantasy themed. I liked playing as the mermaids. I recently played as the Dragon Lord, which was really interesting. I think it's part of this Fire and Ice expansion, but it's one of the options on BGA. And I like playing with the Fire and Ice because some of the characters are like very asymmetric and very interesting. So the Dragon Lord one, you can build a stronghold, but you have to sacrifice energy. And I didn't quite realize that till halfway through that I was losing all my energy. And I was like, oh, I have no power in bowl 3. Where did it all go? Oh, I built all this stuff. I don't think I won. I don't think I did too badly, but it's interesting. It's one of those games I feel like Spirit Island or potentially Root. Half the fun of that is exploring the different asymmetric factions and how they work differently and what they do. I've been thinking about whether I would get a physical copy of Terra Mystica, but I'm just not quite sure yet. Welcome to. Definitely a physical copy of that. I think that would make a really good party game, and I tried to teach it to Rich once. I tried to play it with him on BGA, and he got so overwhelmed he passed out. But I think if I got a physical copy and we sat down with some friends, that would be a really good game day game. I wanted to talk about some of the new to me games because a big part of the appeal for me in BGA, beyond being able to play with people that live in other countries, which is most of the people I play with on BGA, is trying new games and seeing whether they're going to be for me or not. It's just kind of nice to be able to try some things out before I pull a trigger on a physical copy or just to try new games in general. So the first one I tried was Roll and Bump. It involved cards and dice, and it was kind of like there was like a Yahtzee thing going on, but almost it felt like this arena thing. And I'm not sure I was quite understanding how to use the dice to be able to score points. I did pretty badly. It was over before I knew it. I'm like, wait, what? It's over already? I didn't even figure out what the heck I was doing yet. So if you're looking for just a quick playing game, Roll and Bump. And I played my Shelfie, the new Phil Walker Harding, which has the Connect 4 rack, and you're dropping the tiles in there, and you're trying to create the most aesthetically pleasing shelf. And you have things like trophies and books and plants and cats, because cats love to curl up on your bookshelf. And it looks very cute and very cozy. It did seem like a fairly light experience. That said, I don't think I was doing really well at completing my goals in that game, but I'd definitely play it again. One of the new ones I discovered this month, which I really like, more than I thought I was going to actually, is Marrakesh. So this is, get this, it's not tile placement, it's rug placement. You have these tiny little like mini Moroccan rugs that you're placing like tiles, and they're like 2 squares long, all of them, and you have them in your color, and you're trying to move this little Assam guy. He's like the little market salesman, and he's like moving around the board. If someone else moves him, and if it lands on your rug on their turn, they have to pay you money, like walking all over your rugs. How rude. It's just, I don't know. It's very light. It's very, you're trying to get the largest group of adjacent rugs, and other people can cover up your rugs and overlay them. So very light experience, but it's one of those types of little puzzles that's very, very stimulating to me. I don't know why. I like rugs. And I finally played it, you guys. WINGSPAN. Wow, am I a believer? I really need a physical copy of this. I just really don't want to spend $60 on it. Such a good game. Oh my, is this game so good. And I know I'm so late to this train on the WINGSPAN, but I definitely am like, yeah, I have to get a physical copy of this. I have to just bite the bullet. Maybe I could get it on sale for $47 or something. The components look amazingly gorgeous. And I know there's a lot of expansions. I think there was a new Asia expansion that just came out, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I just think this is exactly, me and Rich are the target audience for this game. It's very beautiful and pastoral, but it also has this really very interesting mechanics of engine building and card play, and plays out very differently for you each time. But what you're doing on your turn is very simple, because you're either taking food out of this bird feeder dice tower thing, or you're like laying these eggs on the bird cards, or you're playing a new bird card to your area, and you score points for the birds. And there's also special scoring criteria at the end. So there's all these kinds of different things kind of interplaying, but what you're doing on your turn is very basic, because you can only do one thing on your turn usually. So it's one of those games where you're trying to plot things out, like the right order of operations, several turns in advance to really play your best game. So I'm still new to it. I'm still figuring out all the strategies and stuff, but it's just such a well-designed game, and we really need it in the collection, like yesterday. And I also played Watergate for the first time. 2-player only games themed around the Nixon administration. It's an interesting tug of war. I'm pretty sure I was understanding it. I played it with somebody from the Discord because I just wanted to try it out. It's a Matthias Kramer game, and one of you plays as the Nixon administration, and one of you is playing as the staff of the Washington Post, as the editor, trying to expose, the Watergate scandal. That makes it sound super thematic, and some of the card texts and old pictures and things that they have are kind of thematic, but it's really a very mechanical kind of tug of war card play style game. It's very dynamic. I definitely would like to try it again. It's pretty cheap, so it's one I think Rich would enjoy just for the theme alone. And I think that tug of war style thing is something that would really gel well for the kinds of games that we like to play together. So highly recommend it. Boomerang Australia is a drafting game. Very cute. I know it's themed to different countries now. There's like a USA one and a Europe one. You're just basically drafting different cards, and you're like sightseeing through Australia, and then you score points for collecting certain symbols in your deck by the end. Or there might be a little bit of tableau building. A little hard for me to tell which on the implementation, but a light experience, but very fun. And then I also played Point Salad. I really like this game. It's a very quick playing light game, but I very much enjoyed the mechanics of it. I like the idea of you're collecting certain types of cards, and then you have these scoring criteria cards that you can select. So you either take a veggie or you take a point scoring card, which is like, scoring a certain amount of points for however many tomatoes you have, or, scoring negative points if you have bell peppers, things like that. One of the other options during your turn is any veggie card you take, and you can flip it over to the point side if you want. And so the entire game is you're just collecting veggies, and you're trying to manipulate how your scoring is going to work at the end of the game. And that's pretty much it. It's not a super complicated game, but I kind of enjoyed it. I like kind of what the title implies, point salad. I mean, you're just trying to get points with veggie cards. I saw somebody selling it on Facebook Marketplace for $8. So I don't know, I might drive out to Folsom and get it for $8. I thought it would make a really great party game. I played Sobek. I think this is a Bruno Catala game, and I generally like Bruno Catala. I think it's supposed to be an Egyptian theme. You're like in the market, and you're drafting tiles and getting points for drafting the tiles. I was still trying to understand exactly how the scoring works, so I was just kind of collecting things. I'm going to have to try to play it again to try to figure it out a little bit better to decide if I actually like it or not. I like the aesthetic of it. I thought it was cute with the little onks and little crocodiles. You're in the River Nile. It definitely seems like a Bruno Catala game. And then I played Fairy Trails by Uwe Rosenberg. This is an Uwe Rosenberg game. Very light for Uwe, but I think he's been doing a lot more children's games lately. I think he probably has some contract with a European children's publisher, because he's done several of these now. Very Carcassonne-esque, kind of, is the best way I could describe it. Kind of like Carcassonne mixed with Bandito. You're basically playing cards. You're sort of building out this tableau of these different fairy trails. So it's a 2-player only game, and you're each playing as a different colored fairy, and you're trying to connect these different snaking, glowing lines back to your home, like your fairy den. And once you connect a complete trail, so once it dead ends and that completes the trail that goes all the way back to your fairy den, then you get to place a certain amount of tokens based on how many kind of offshoots from the fairy trail there are. It's a game where you're trying to create dead ends, similar to Bandito. And basically the first person to place all 14 of their tokens wins, just straight up. Very strategic, because you could easily end up completing someone else's trail for them without even meaning to if you're not paying attention. A very good 2-player only game. Definitely one I would consider getting, because this looks very small and cheap. Small box game. There's just cards and then the 14 pebbles that you each have. One I'd like to try for Rich. I think he might enjoy it, even though he doesn't like Carcassonne. But maybe he'd like this more because, you know, it's not, I don't think it's as mean, really. Then I also played, and this was a big one, Obsession. Finally came to BGA. I think it's still in beta. I need a copy of this game. This game was so good. The hype is real, you guys. Obsession is so incredible. And it's very Euro-y. It's not really that difficult to wrap your head around what's going on, because I feel the theme really helps you be able to understand what you're trying to do. And most of the games, you're just trying to get these tiles for these different rooms to kind of build out your British mansion. And you're trying to collect these different gentry cards, and you're trying to host parties and get people to come to them. And you're sort of managing these different workers who represent kind of your servants that will help you be able to throw bigger, more lavish parties. And you're getting VP points depending on how successful your parties were, essentially. There's a little bit more to that than that, but it's basically like you're placing tiles, and then you get to do actions based on, and then you get to juice your tiles up. So there's a lot of engine building involved in the game, which I really enjoyed. Did not do very well at it. I was not expecting to do well at it against someone who had already played it, but I still enjoyed it, and I felt like I understood what was going on. I just knew I wasn't probably making the best choices, but it was like, well, it's my first time. I just wanted to kind of, you know, try different things. And yeah, I really want a physical copy of it. I really think this would be a really great 2-player Euro game that wouldn't be too complex in the rules overhead. So it's something I can definitely play with Rich. Yeah, I cannot recommend this game enough. Obsession. So that's everything I played in the month of October solo and on BGA. And definitely go and check out our other October stats video. I'm just really happy that we were able to get this all up before November ended. We're definitely working really hard to build the channel, help it grow, and post content more consistently, which in order for the channel to grow, we have to post content. So thank you very much. I hope that this all made sense. I was kind of a frazzled mess right now. I just had the crunch week of concerts from hell, so I'm still kind of recovering from all that, but I wanted to film this video ASAP and get it up as soon as possible. If you like what you see, please subscribe. We love subs. Hit the notification bell. We're going to be releasing a lot of playthroughs soon. So again, I'm Andy, and remember to always be gay, do crime, and don't get caught.